Hello, welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt. That's Christy. That's Alonso. The Forever Purge is finally in theaters. I haven't seen it because I haven't seen any Purge movies, I'll admit. I know people be pissed, so I didn't get a chance to see this one, but Christy and Alonso did. They will tell you all about it.
It's a better franchise than you might give it credit for, Matt. It runs hot and cold, but you know. So yeah, this one is set in Texas near the Mexico border, and we are basically dealing with a married couple who are undocumented. Ana de la Reguera is the wife. She works at a butcher shop or a butcher, plant, I guess. Meat processing. Thank you. Her husband, Juan, played by Tenoch Huerta, is a cowboy. He helps train horses at a ranch owned by Will Patton and his son, Josh Lucas. Will Patton seems to be fairly benevolent. Josh Lucas has kind of a chip on his shoulder, probably racist. Purge happens, everybody locks down, we all get ready for what usually happens in these movies where like, oh, who's going to be outside and how will they survive? And then the purge night ends and everybody's like, oh, okay, great. But then it turns out there's a bunch of folks that don't want the purge to end ever. And these people are white and they're heavily armed and they are out to get everybody who's making America impure, to the extent that eventually Josh Lucas and our lead couple have to flee for the Mexican border to find asylum. The political messaging in these movies is never of a light touch. But it's interesting to watch, and I think these movies are certainly provocative. Where this one fails, I think, is by centering the white characters so much, because this is a movie that is about white supremacy and racism, and so by giving us these nice white people, it feels like a bit of a dodge. Like they don't want to get accused of blanket statements or anything like that. But really, the people we want to follow here are Ana de la Reguera, and Tenoch Huerta. And, too often I think they're kind of pushed aside for Josh Lucas and his pregnant wife. But nonetheless, this movie, I think, has a lot of the scares and the suspense and the, like I said, very heavily handed political messaging that you come to a Purge movie for. It's not the best of them, but it's certainly not the worst of them either.
This is not the best Purge at all. And I, too, am a fan of them. And I have found that it's the unusual franchise where they just kept getting better.
Yes.
Until this one.
Yeah.
This one feels repetitive and maybe a little scattered in its messaging, actually. I mean, they're not terribly subtle, but I'm not sure that this one knows what it wants to say beyond the fact that, like, hey, there are racists in America.
Well, I think the message is that, like, the people that the government thought was just going to sort of like toe the line for them and help push their message, are going to take that message further, even if it means overthrowing the government. And so the government should be careful about who they're inspiring.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with the Josh Lucas character is that maybe his evolution is why he is more central, right? Because he doesn't think he's a racist. I'm not racist. He says, I just don't think that we should have to mingle.
Right.
And then once the Mexicans save his life, he realizes, oh, I need to mingle and it's going to be okay. And so maybe like the teaching moments in that are meant to reach people who ordinarily wouldn't want to see a movie with that message. Like they think, yeah, America, fuck yeah, it's a Purge movie. And maybe that's like the Trojan horse little messaging of that. That's my guess. That's my only thinking with that. There is some craft on display here that is unexpected in what can sometimes be like just the pure blunt force within these movies. Was it the election one where they had the car with the cool little white lights on it? Was that one?
I haven't seen Election Year, and I haven't seen the second one. I've seen the first one, which sucked, but at least promised a more interesting world they got to. The first Purge, I thought, was actually pretty good, and this one, so I'm not sure about two and three.
I think it was the election one where I can't remember. Anyway, but there's like a long tracking shot here. Once they get to El Paso, and it becomes like urban warfare, right? Because a lot of it
Yeah.
takes place on the ranch, on the border. And once they get to El Paso, because they think they can cross the border into Mexico from there, there's a really long tracking shot, and the whole movie kind of changes there. It takes on a whole different tone. And I was impressed by the craftsmanship of that and the intensity of that. Yeah, this one's pretty good, but the other ones are so much better that I was kind of bummed.
Yeah, it's still better than the first one, I would say. But yeah, you're right. For a franchise that kept getting better with each chapter, this is the first one where it feels like we're maybe taking a bit of a step backward. But at the same time, I think, these movies are in their kind of down and dirty B movie exploitation kind of way, saying things that need to be said and that I think people are really thinking about. And so, the notion of I think, you look at January 6th as this thing of like, oh, we can control this. We know what we're doing here. And it's like, no, these folks are going to go off and do their own thing. And, it may be even further than what you would hope to get out of them by exploiting their fear and their racism and all that stuff. And they're also armed, so just it's a thing to think about, maybe. I don't know.
The thing with all these movies, and this one too, is that we're not too far from that. It's not that far fetched, right? The idea, like the way they're armed and their philosophy and the verbiage are pretty darn dead on, with it's not that impossible to believe that we're like maybe a step or two away from that. And so I can see why they'd want to explore this topic, particularly along the Mexican border. Does it make a difference? Does it change anybody's mind or open their heart? I doubt it, but I appreciate the intent.
Matt has a question.
Yeah, I haven't caught any of these, mainly just because the timing hasn't worked out. It's not that I have anything against them. It's more of a timing thing. One of the things I'm curious, like, do the movies focus on any other crimes other than murder? Like, like if you steal a car.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like what? I know, but like,
well,
okay,
no one's committing mail fraud during the purge. If that's
I understand, but like, if you steal a car, like if you steal your neighbor's cool car, like, do you have to then register it or pay tax? Like, how does that all work?
Right.
The purge paperwork has not come out yet, so we don't really know what how that goes. But yeah, the idea is that all crime is unpunishable for 12 hours, and there's no police and there's no emergency services or anything like that. But yeah, but for this one, they throw that out the window, and it just becomes this state of full-fledged anarchy where it's always the purge all the time.
Purge forever.
Exactly.
Right. Like if you file an erroneous tax return, is knowingly false, is that one to get away with it?
I was really hoping the USA Network series was going to get into that, but sadly, they didn't.
What's your number? I'm saying 5.5.
I said 7 just because I think it's a competently made thriller. It just sort of pales in comparison, but it was fine. I think it mainly does what it sets out to do.
Yes. So our number is 6.3, and the Forever Purge is available where?
In theaters.
Only in theaters.
It's Universal, so it's in theaters, but they have that window, and so it'll be streaming soon enough. So keep a lookout. All right, thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFast All Day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and do visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Talking about Loki, and there's plenty to talk about, and we got Ted Lasso season 2 coming up, which we didn't do before, but we're going to do now, so you don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.